Hello, Greg Branos here for the Coach Speak Index, our second draft of the day. Going to do a Ball Mania 6 draft on Underdog, and got one of my faves with me today to draft a team with me. He is the publisher of the Stealing Signals newsletter. He is also a co-host of the Stealing Bananas podcast. Ben Gretch, welcome.
What's up, man? I'm excited to join you.
Dude, so happy to have you on. I just finished listening to the Establish the Edge podcast that you did with Michael Leone, going over all those divisional previews. And dude, those are outstanding. Those were so informative and entertaining. And you guys absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, that's always super fun. I have a blast and feel so lucky to get the chance to talk with Leone about that stuff, because he's, in my opinion, the best in the business at projections and all of those things. The stuff that I know, that I mean, just little bits and pieces of it over the years, but I know the stuff that he does behind the scenes to build into their projections over at ETR and all the things that he's gone through and the research he's done. And God, I remember years ago, like the stuff he's doing with, like, you know, how much to regress efficiency and decay rates and all of these things. And it's so much more advanced than anything I've done or I've seen from other people throughout the industry and the different places that I've worked, which, I mean, that stuff is all very tough to do, but he's back testing all of it as much as possible and doing very, you know, and so they do really sharp work over there at ETR in general. And so getting the chance to jump on with him and do all those and talk through our projections and get to test mine against his and all that is just, I mean, I just feel fortunate to get to do it. It's a really fun exercise every year.
Yeah, I loved when you guys were going through the projections and kind of comparing them, and Leone is like texting the ETR Slack or like messaging the Slack on like,
yeah,
that you guys
He's
are
like, I'm gonna make a note that we do something about this, and I'm like, you got a whole team behind you. Like, I'm gonna forget to change mine later. Like, it's just me.
right. Oh man, the solo endeavor is quite the journey. You ready to jump into a draft here?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited. I haven't done as many as many drafts this year as I'd like to. As many know, I live in a state where I have to travel out of state to do my drafts. I do a lot of slows and stuff, but obviously got all the takes and all that. I'm ready to fire away. I always tell people when I jump on and draft with them that the thing that I always miss, because I don't get enough draft reps in, is the quarterback stuff and the stacks and those things. So I'm telling you right now, you at any point want to grab the reins and say, hey, well, this is the time we need to complete the stack. We need to grab that quarterback. You let me know.
All right. I'll try my best. No promises.
We'll figure it out.
We'll just, we'll be fine. All right. Like a 5-second heads up for you guys. About to click this enter button. We'll see how many people are awaiting us in Valhalla. It's 9 people. I'll get it up on screen. The living in a state where you can't draft, or living in a territory where you can't draft, is awful. A couple years ago, I was living in Vegas, and I had to drive like an hour south to like California border and just pull over at a rest stop there and draft like 9 to 12 teams at a time, and then, you know, drive back to Vegas. It was a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, not fun. I live in Seattle, and my passport is currently expired. So for the last year, when I want to draft, I got to drive all the way down to Portland, Oregon. It's like a 3.5 hour drive. It's super fun. I live north of the city of Seattle. It would be easier for me to drive up to BC, but that would still be a lengthy drive. I did hear at the live Scott Fishbowl draft that if you drive up near the border, there's like a park on the border from somebody else in Seattle going through the same stuff, that you can trick the the geolocation into thinking you're in Canada without actually crossing over. So that's the next I'm just, you know,
hypothetically
Hypothetically speaking, none of this is actually advice.
He would not do it. We would not do it.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly and hypothetically and theoretically. It's the holy trinity of you can't nail me down on this one, player.
Yeah. We'll see how it all goes.
So do you like bulk enter slow drafts and then just do them when you get back?
I haven't been doing as many this year, a little busier with the family and stuff. Last year I was doing a lot more, and I was doing some streams where I would just work through like 20 slow picks. And so, some of the YouTube commenters today will have remembered some of those streams, and we're watching some of them. They're calling me the slow draft king last year. It was pretty fun.
I tried to enter a few puppy twos like a week ago, and I didn't know that it had switched over from like to slows only. And I ended up entering like 3 of them. I was like, well, that can't be right. Why did it put me in a slow draft? and just like being in 3 slow drafts, I don't care for it.
No, you're always on the clock. It's not, that's the part of it. It's not even the drives down so much as like, then you have to be on the clock every single day for the next 2 weeks. And then the issue, like when there's news and stuff, sometimes you want to draft to like respond to it or to leverage it. I think I have a take different than the way that I think the market's going to play this. But when you're doing all these slow drafts, all your drafts are at the same spot. They're all in the like 5th round at the same time. Then they're all in the 10th round. And then news breaks that affects a 4th round pick. And you're like, I wish I could start some more slow drafts right now. So then, right. But by the time you finish one batch, you're ready to start the next ones because you want to start like making those decisions on the early round players again. It's been like over a week since you've had the opportunity to do that. There you go. This is my
Peace
my
Arch
link up right here. The Peace Arch Park was what I was told. Yeah.
There we go. We got somebody here in the draft with us at the 6th spot. We have the number 2 overall pick in this year's draft. Eddie Lacy drafting out of the 4th spot. You love to see it.
There you go. I wonder. I mean, is that actually Eddie Lacy or? Is
I don't know. I don't know.
He's the perfect. He's the perfect random screen name player. I'm gonna guess it's not actually Eddie Lacy, considering the badge.
What? Well, I'll ask this question after we make this pick. It's on us, everybody, but Jamar Chase is available.
Yeah, I'm comfortable going any direction here. I'd probably just grab Bijan based on ADP. I'm a little bit concerned about the Jefferson hamstring, given he missed so much time 2 years ago. Some of the other structural stuff with JJ McCarthy and all those things, and like Addison really coming on late last year, so probably not prioritizing him. Probably not really prioritizing Barkley. The other dude that I think is in this discussion is, but you can get him later, is Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm pretty high on Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, being in the like 6th spot and Jahmyr Gibbs falling there is so nice because you're still in that area of the draft where in the 2nd round, when it comes back, you can still get like a pretty like elite player. I feel like it's about like 18 picks deep or so. Like what when we're getting to like AJ Brown, Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey is kind of right on that edge there. Like very, very happy getting those guys in the 2nd round. Mm-hmm. What kind of team do you think Eddie Lacy would draft? I mean, he's got a running back right off the bat.
I mean, probably a lot of big backs is what I'm immediately thinking.
It's going to be high T, brother.
High T.
Yeah.
He's going to be between the tackles, 220-pound plus backs only.
He's taking Braylon Allen in the 2nd round.
That's right. Braylon Allen is definitely making it onto this roster.
What do you make of this Jets backfield with Braylon Allen and Breece Hall and Isaiah Davis? Because there's a lot of talk about it right now in the community and obviously from the coaching staff.
It's mostly one that I'm avoiding, to be honest with you. I love the Breece Hall talent. They've talked about the other backs. My issue is you go through the projection process like I do, and you were talking about on that show. I just expressed some concerns about Justin Fields. I mean, Justin Fields, as one of the big things with mobile quarterbacks, I mean, they do help rushing efficiency for the running backs, but there's so many plays where the ball doesn't leave their hand. They tend to scramble a lot. And then a lot of them tend to have higher sack rates. And Justin Fields is the biggest example of that. There's a massive number of snaps in Justin Fields' offenses where the ball doesn't get to a skill player. And then in addition to that, this is a team that doesn't have a high win total. You wouldn't expect to run a ton of plays. Defensive head coach. They've talked about wanting to run the ball. All 5 of their offensive linemen grade better at run blocking than pass blocking. I mean, this is a team designed to run the football. They talked about Justin Fields' dual threat mobility, and that's good for the backs, but it's not great for the overall workload where you don't get the rushing stuff. It runs the clock. They're going to try to play. This is the team that's going to not be fun to play against in fantasy either, in DFS, because they're going to kill play volume on both sides.
Yeah,
and that's tough. That's tough if there's a committee as well,
For sure. Aaron Glenn talking about Braylon Allen, 240-pound back who's always falling forward, so good in short yardage situation, and really scares you off of a Breece Hall. We're on the clock here. Tyreek Hill, Bucky Irving, T. Higgins, Josh Jacobs, Marvin Harrison.
I would take Hill here. I like him quite a bit.
Tyreek,
this price, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's a limited amount of wide receiver upside in the 3rd round, frankly. I think we have some kind of questionable profiles this year, and that's part of why Hill flew through the 3rd round and is up into the 2nd. But I do think he very clearly has the upside case if he was just hurt last year and we see that rebound.
One pick. Back on the clock now. Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams.
The other one for me is Adams, where I can see the real clear upside case, but I'd also be down to just go Bucky and get 2 early backs.
Yeah, it gives us a week 17 correlation with Tyreek Hill, and also a week 15 correlation with Bijan Robinson, which we can see thanks to the Spike Week Draft Hacker. All right, get back on the board here.
Bucky, little bit concerned about I'm a little concerned about Bucky's price. I was really in on him last year. He was my highest owned player. He's gotten so expensive now that I think it's kind of flies under the radar a little that, some of the stuff that was an issue last year that kept his price way too low, in my opinion, is still relevant. He's not a super good athlete. He got into space a lot last year, but didn't have a lot of long touchdown runs. He had long runs, but ended up getting caught because he doesn't really have great long speed. He's incredibly agile, had great evasion rates in college, and that translated immediately. I think the floor for talent is incredibly high. I do think Rachaad White's still going to have a role. They're still talking about Sean Tucker and stuff, but in best ball especially, which obviously we're drafting, I like the idea of getting backs where you're this guy's got a high floor of usage, a high floor of skill. There's a lot of elements that, it's not like you can work the waiver wire at the running back position or anything. So it's a nice little double anchor running back here where I think Bijan and Bucky give you a really high floor, and we can kind of push running back the way that I would tend to push running back pretty darn late now and start hitting some rookies in the very ends of in the final rounds.
Yeah, the Bucky skill was on full display last season. Liam Cohen used him just perfectly. Ran a lot of pony personnel to kind of hide first of all, just to switch things up. But the pass blocking was a big issue for Bucky Irving coming into the NFL, and Cohen was just I'm just not really going to ask him to pass block
right
much. And
and there's still, you have the great quotes on Rachaad White this offseason. They're still talking about how they think he's the best pass blocker in the NFL at the running back position. He's going to play. He's not going to not play.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely going to play in these passing situations where, and he's good. He's got good hands in the pass game. They value him quite a bit there. And but Bucky, man, the talent is just so evident. That's a guy that they want to feed. And their new offensive coordinator, Josh Grizzard, has said that he does not they don't want to change things up that much. Things worked really well last year. They have a lot of continuity on staff. Liam Cohen was the only guy that left there. They have everybody else there. And they just want to keep that ball rolling from last year. We're about to be back up on the clock. And we are Jalen Hurts, DK Metcalf, Jameson Williams, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Smith, Chuba, Jalen.
I'm probably Jameson here. Yeah. I'm not very into Metcalf in that situation. I mean, the price on Hurts is nice, but when you start with 2 running backs, you really want to get back on track wide receiver wise.
Yeah, love JMO. Took him in the draft that I just did with Brad Evans. Talked about how there is an emphasis on Jameson Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs in this offense under their new offensive coordinator, John Morton. Dan Campbell is completely on board with it. We're back on the clock here. DK Metcalf, Sutton, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Zay Flowers.
It wouldn't be Metcalf or Sutton. I think Travis Hunter might be my pick. How low is he in ADP now?
He's like 56, right?
I guess that's not. Yeah, we're at 50. That's not crazy,
dude. Let's
take that swing.
Let's talk about Travis Hunter here. I mean, I'll let you have the floor first.
I mean, I think he's a really tricky dude. The recent quotes that you had about how a DB got injured, and they are talking about then that opens up reps for some guys on defense, and they mentioned Travis Hunter, and you were like, I don't usually reference DBs in these notes, but when it comes to Travis Hunter, I mean, it's pretty important. That point, I think, was already baked in, and I think the idea that he's going to play some defense is a very difficult thing from a risk profile standpoint, and how are we valuing it. But I in my opinion, is that works both ways, and they're very thin behind Hunter. Like, their wide receiver 3 and beyond profiles are not strong. De'Ami Brown had a good postseason last year, not a target earner. Parker Washington, not a target earner. Brenton Strange had 11.7 targets per out run last year, not a target earner at tight end. He's a route runner. He'll have route volume. You could take him, but he's not going to be a guy that earns volume. If something were to happen to Brian Thomas, they will play Hunter on offense more as a result, just the way that you wrote it out, that it can happen on defense as well. I think it just cuts both ways. And that cornerback injury, to me, it was notable that, as you wrote, he's going to be back by week 1. They expect it. It's going to get Hunter some more defensive reps in camp. But I do think there are some real exciting ceiling scenarios for Hunter where they actually need him on offense more. They don't have a lot of playmakers on offense. I don't know necessarily how deep they are on D, but those threats and those risks, I think, are pretty well baked in here. All the stuff from camp, the stuff that all the quotes you had from the preseason, even going back to the Browns when they're expected to take him, everything Andrew Berry was saying, everyone is saying. I think you had a tweet about this recently that was funny. It's like, everybody's saying this guy is the most athletic dude you've ever seen. He does not get tired. He's got the greatest stamina. He can play both sides of the ball. I did some math on it earlier this offseason. He ran enough plays last year to basically play 90% of the snaps on both sides of the ball in an average NFL offense, because they did run more plays at Colorado. It's something they've talked about in the offseason. I mean, I think he's capable of playing a lot. Now, mentally, is he going to have the whole playbook right away? Probably not. But this is best ball, man. You get just his spike weeks. I think his receiving profile is also underrated and misunderstood. I think it's a lot stronger than people realize. So there's several elements that work in favor of just making the bet.
We're up. Clock here. Caleb Johnson, Joe Mixon.
Will you click wide receiver real quick?
Diggs, Chris Godwin, Jaden Reed.
So this would be Jaden Reed for me, probably, or maybe Ibuka, but because he's just getting so much buzz. But I really like the Jaden Reed thesis, so let's
do it.
Him up.
Maybe.
I think we still want to probably be going receiver here before that that window really closes and get a solid 5. I don't think there's really much pressure to be going QB or tight end, and with our 2 early running backs, I don't think there's really. I think we really want to get these wide receiver slots figured out.
For sure. One pick away if we want to take Ibuka and he's available.
Yeah, he's getting such good buzz. I mean, we could also just grab Golden and then try to come back with Jordan Love and build out that. So Ibuka goes.
Ibuka goes. Want Golden?
Yeah, let's do that. And then let's just get Love.
Tucker Kraft, Jordan Love.
Yes, get those guys on the roster later. That sounds great.
Oh, yeah. Going back to the Travis Hunter thing, I have a lot of opinions on this. He doesn't get tired stuff. Like, we're hearing it from everybody. Like, anyone who's ever come into any contact with him, coaches, players, everyone who's out at Jaguars camp, like the guy doesn't get tired. And on days where he's on offense, he's doing like in between breaks or like when there's special teams or whatever, like he's doing stuff with the defense, with the defensive staff, just like whenever he has like 10, 15 minutes somewhere, like there's no downtime for him, and not necessarily like physical stuff, but just like technique kind of stuff. He played like 111 plus snaps per game in college. And about half of those games where he's playing so many snaps are in a stadium that's 5,400 feet above sea level. And now he's playing at a stadium that's about 10 feet above sea level. So like that, when you talk about like how incredible that stamina is that he had in college, that was at a place that's like pretty hard to breathe if you're just like walking around there. So people just like can't envision him playing 100+ snaps because they just haven't seen it in the modern era. But like, what if this guy is just an absolute alien, right? And he can play that many snaps. I think it will be more like he's playing defensive snaps on like really high leverage stuff, right? Like third and long, or just like third downs straight up, that kind of thing. He's a ball hawk, and that works to his advantage on defense and on offense. They did not trade that giant bag that they did to the Cleveland Browns to just like take this guy and have him play cornerback and then play 20 snaps on offense.
That's right.
Even if he's playing just like 70% of the snaps or 65% of the snaps on offense, those snaps that he's in there for, they're going to have like design stuff for him on those snaps. Like they're not going to have him in there on like all their all the runs that they do. Like who gives a shit if he's not on the field for some of their running plays or whatever. He's just a really, really good player. Liam Cohen ran the 8th highest rate of 3 receiver sets last year in Tampa Bay. I think we're going to see a lot of 3 receiver sets again.
Both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin set career highs in yards per out run last year with career lows in ADOT. He was getting them manufactured catches at a lower ADOT, and they both had good long careers, and they set career highs in yards per out run. I mean, I know Godwin missed time, but I mean, in the same offense, it's just crazy.
And he's
like,
so good
Cohen's offense
these guys up.
Good.
Yeah, he's so good at scheming these dudes open as well. Like he's going to have very, very high value targets in this offense, and I think he's going to play a shitload of snaps on offense. Like they're not going to be running Parker Washington, De'Ami Brown, and BTJ out there on all their stuff. We're on the clock here. Joe Mixon, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, ETN, Jalen Warren.
I think back over to wide receiver.
Yep.
Well, who was at the top there?
Coleman. We got Coleman.
That's fine. We grabbed Coleman. Burden and the 20-second clocks caught us there. Burden and who was Ayuk was behind him. I was kind of intrigued by when do we have to make the move on Kraft? Probably a little while still.
Next time around. Okay. We could do that. Anybody that you're looking
at? Did Scadaboo go? Oh, so he was also there, and then when you reshuffled, he's moved down a little, but the rank had him higher. Let's grab him.
Let's do it. I'm so big.
I was thinking him or Warren as well.
I've got so on my rankings, he's up here. I got 28%, and we're gonna pump those bags up even more. I think he does pretty much everything that Tyrone Tracy does better, except for like the breakaway speed, obviously. Like both very elusive. If you get a hand on Tyrone Tracy, like he's going to the ground. If you get a hand on Cam Scadaboo, that is not necessarily the case. Scadaboo is an elite short yardage back, and once they're at the goal line, when they're in the green zone, in the red zone, I think we're going to see so much Cam Scadaboo. He's an excellent pass catcher. Ironically, I think he's a better pass catcher than Tyrone Tracy, who converted from wide receiver to running back, did not look great in the pass game last year, had some real errors there. We saw the fumbling stuff, put him in the doghouse with Brian Daboll. If week one, Tyrone Tracy fumbles and they lose a game again because of another mistake that he made, like that, just like immediately we're getting so much Cam Scatterbo. I think to start out, it'll be like, pretty fairly evenly split between those two. I can see Scatterbo coming on at the end of the season, but this is a guy that they like. He's a football player. Brian Daboll was talking about him the other day in the like kind of in the same bucket as Abdul Carter, of just like there are some guys who just like have amazing football instincts. And like Abdul Carter, Cam Scatterbo is one of those guys. They love the toughness that he runs with. This is a really good football player that they got, and I think they're going to use him a ton.
Yeah, and I think as good as his receiving profile was, as good as you mentioned the short yardage stuff is, he's going to get the what I like to call the high value touches, all the stuff that really matters for fantasy scoring, the receptions, the goal line work. I mean, my worry on Tracy, I don't think Tracy's a bad back or anything, but my worry on him, if you're really in on him, is like, are you just going to get the between the 20s rusher in this backfield? I know that he has the background as a receiver, but Scatterbo's receiving background is actually probably stronger and more impressive in a way that I think is pretty concerning if you're heavily into Tracy. I think Tracy could be more efficient because he's going to have the long speed in a way that Scatterbo doesn't really have. The good tested, like his 40 time wasn't great, but Scatterbo's 10-yard split was much better than his 40 time. And his jumps were really strong. He's explosive. He's like, he can do all the short yardage stuff, the success rate stuff that you need. His broad jump, his vert were very, very strong. He's an athletic dude. Wow, Burden is really sliding.
He is.
Yeah, I think we need to lock up Kraft. And then do we need to do Love at some point, or where are we at on him?
Yeah, I love. Oh my God, Kraft is gone.
No,
this fucker. We can go ahead and take Love here.
Yeah, and then I mean, Burden is back in practice, and I do think he's.
You want to take Burden first?
Let's take Love first. Take Love first.
Sure.
Let's make sure that the guy in the turn doesn't maybe snatch him up somehow. Yeah. Let's get our double stack. I don't think we have to have Burden here because we could also go Njoku. I really like Njoku, and maybe we should just do that to get some tight end into the build. I mean, Burden sliding right now. I mean, you probably don't need to be prioritizing him at a moment when he's sliding. But I saw he was back at camp today, right?
Yeah, he's back at camp. Yeah.
Yeah. So at least that's something. That mystery injury has been kind of a bummer. Maybe let's go Burden.
Okay.
Okay. No, we'll go.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
We'll go Burden, man.
Let's take him. I can make a pretty strong case for Burden from the quotes that that you have up there since before the draft. When Ben Johnson came in, he was talking a lot about wanting to get the ball into guys' hands in space, wanting to like be able to. Can't remember the exact quotes, but I know I talked about him on the ETE pod. And then it's like he was describing Luther Burden before he ever had Luther Burden. He was talking about passing EPA being important to winning games. They want to inflate that number with a higher completion percentage and run after the catch opportunities, all those things. And that's what they got in Colston Loveland too at tight end. But like Burden, it didn't feel like wide receiver was a need for them. It was a surprise that they took Burden a little bit, or I mean, it surprised me a little bit, I guess. Because a lot of people thought they might go, running back. Obviously the Patriots took Travion Henderson like right before them, and they were like rumored to be like in on Henderson. But the fact that they took Burden, to me, when that's sort of his skill set, that was his knock for the prospect guys, that too much of his production came ball in hand, all of these types of things. I mean, it seems like that stuff is what Ben Johnson wants to work into the offense, and is why they went and got him. And he's going to have a role. The question is, what's the size of that role? Is it just a little bit of ball in hand stuff here and there, some manufacturer touches, some quick hits, and that's all? That wouldn't be great. But when you're drafting the rookie receivers, you're expecting, this is the other thing with Hunter, you're expecting their roles to grow over time. Hunter's probably not going to play 90% of the snaps on both sides in week one. But as you said, he did average 111 snaps or whatever that was last year, which I was doing some quick math. 62.2 was the average plays per game last year. So it's about 124 for both sides in an NFL game. And he averaged 111. That was that stat that I threw out earlier, that he was over or right around 90% of total snaps in, if you look at his snaps per game relative to how many there typically are in an NFL game. But the point on Hunter would be, or why I'm wrapping him into this conversation, that later in the season, that's when this really matters for best ball. We might see that expand. We might see similar with Burden, where the role is much better later in the year. But I do think there's a real reason they drafted him and an intent behind it and what they're hoping they'll get out of him. So definitely excited to add him.
Back on the clock, Tua is available.
With Tyreek. I really like Dylan Sampson here as well.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. You want to take Sampson?
Yeah, let's take him, man. The thesis on him is just so bullish right now with the Judkins stuff. Like,
did you like him as a prospect?
I did, and I think there's a lot of argument that he wasn't that dissimilar from Judkins as a prospect. He's smaller. He's probably not like a workhorse, but he's a lot of really good positive elements. There was talk that he'd be a day 2 guy. He ends up
back on the clock here.
Yeah, tight end we got to look at, or we can grab Tua and just keep pushing tight end late.
Sure.
We have Tyreek, right? Yeah, let's do it.
Do. Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's get our QB situation squared away, and then we're good at running back and tight and wide receiver. We're just making this a late round tight end build.
Yes. Just going through our team real quick. Jordan Love and Tua Tagovailoa at QB. Running back Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving, Cam Scatterbo, Dylan Sampson. Wide receiver Tyreek Hill, Jameson Williams, Travis Hunter, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Keon Coleman, Luther Burden. Got a 2-4-7 right now. Probably good at receiver for
we're done at receiver
of the way. I wonder if this would turn. Man, we probably don't have the roster space for like a 4 tight end build here, but we'll see what's.
But I think we can get 3 good ones late. There's some volume plays and there's some upside plays that I like at tight end. The question I think will just become whether we feel comfortable with the 2 quarterbacks or want to try to add a third, because this could frankly be a 3 QB and 3 tight end build. We have enough depth at receiver now that would only leave us 5 running backs, but we have Bijan, Bucky, Scatterbo, who we're talking about is going to get all this work. And now we added Dylan Sampson, who I think is going to basically be their week 1 starter. And potentially because Judkins, there's scenarios with Judkins where he never plays for the Browns. I don't think people are baking that in.
It's very possible. And not just this season, but at all. They asked their general manager, Andrew Berry, the other day about like, hey, he hasn't signed his contract. Is there a possibility that he's just never going to sign that contract, that he doesn't play for the Browns? And he said, Andrew Berry said that's to be determined. And then we got the stuff yesterday from the owner, I believe, as well, that really makes you wonder if Judkins will be a Cleveland Brown.
I think probably they'll sort that out eventually, and probably he plays at some point this year after serving a suspension. But where we're at right now, the extreme upside case for Judkins, and I'm not saying, because obviously he's falling, he hasn't even gone in this draft yet, but the extreme upside case to me is you get a suspension that's a limited number of games. He gets his contract signed. He serves that suspension. And by the time he comes back, the other backs aren't necessarily doing great. I think people are just like, well, he'll just miss that many games and then he'll walk right back in and be like the second round pick that they took. And I think even in the upside case, it's like, well, then he has to work his way up to speed a little bit. And I think all the other cases are like, there's a hang up. There's cases where he does end up signing, he does end up becoming a Cleveland Brown, but this is a redshirt year for him because they just work on the legal stuff. He plays a little bit very late. It's looking a lot like Dylan Sampson's going to have a huge role. I'm pretty into him.
We're on the clock here.
Let's check tight end.
Yes.
Click that.
Brenton Strange, Jonnu Smith, Zach Ertz.
We do have Hunter. We have a little bit of a bet on the Jags. Let's
Strange.
Go Strange. Yeah.
Let's do it.
And then it's kind of gross, but I would probably also do Zach Ertz. He's super old, I know, but he had like 11 catches in their playoff game after a pretty strong season.
Oh, Gesicki, by the way, is available as well. I accidentally had rankings instead of ADP.
I think in a late round build like this, Ertz is a pretty appealing. Gesicki's pretty appealing too, but I like Ertz's like floor element here, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The old guy thing.
Absolutely. Zach Ertz, welcome to the squad. Got a couple questions here in chat. Rick Aduzel wants to know how many slows.
Yeah, I'm not in any right now. I haven't made the trips, but I am flying out 2 days. 2 days from now, I'll be on a flight down to Miami to hang with the ship chasing guys. I'm not doing the ship chasing stuff anymore, but I'm heading to the meetup, and then I'll be able to do some drafts there, and I'll be entering a good number of slows to draft throughout August, which will be nice.
Hell yeah! You gonna do some drafts on the boat?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I think we're doing the drafting Saturday, going on the boat Sunday. I don't know. I probably will do some drafts on the boat because I don't get to do like just draft, But at the same time, like every time I go out of state, I'm like, I'm going to do so many drafts. And then I get out of state and I'm like, I'm on vacation. I don't want to sit in one place and draft for 40 minutes,
Yeah.
It's a little tough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part about it that drives me nuts is like, I would do so many drafts at home when I have 40 minutes and I'm bored, But like, I have to like make an effort to go somewhere else. And then I'm somewhere else and I'm like, well, I want to experience life too. I don't want to just be like sitting on my phone when I'm on vacation. So it's kind of tilting. I can understand why people love doing as many best ball drafts as they do from home. I mean, I think that's the way to do it. Like that's the way I would do it. I'd be drafting all the time if I could at home, but
yeah, that's home is great. I like doing them, whenever I have time, if I'm just like out on a walk in the city here. Rip a draft from the phone. Justin wants to know, do you take Burrow in the first round in Superflex? I would say yeah. Yeah, he's
I mean, it's probably at the turn. I guess I would have a pretty big tier break after the first 4 QBs, and I would probably prioritize like Chase and some of the elite non-QBs before getting to the drop back passers, Burrow and Mahomes to me would be ahead of sort of the rest of the quarterbacks. And so I would definitely still be in on them in the later part of the first round. I think I'd probably prioritize like Bijan and Gibbs and some of those guys and then building quarterback differently. But
any opinions here on Cole Kmet? Bucks87 asking, what do you think about Cole Kmet for contingent upside ownership?
The trick, tough thing for him is he just had a hard time earning a lot of volume, and then they add. I mean, I understand he's saying contingent, so Loveland gets hurt, he's out, whatever. They've also added Burden. They're talking about Adunze really favorably the last couple of days. They're talking about obviously DJ. I mean, they have DJ Moore. They're not really talking about him a ton, but you had the quotes on the DJ Moore stuff where people, I think it got blown out of proportion. People were talking about him getting disciplined for body language and all that, but most of that was coming from him.
Himself, the recent stuff from the coaching staff has been good. The offensive coordinator Declan Doyle the other day was talking about DJ Moore, them having him do different stuff, and then like the next day in practice, he was in the backfield, so that's pretty cool. There, we're one pick away here. Miles Sanders as a running back. Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, should we just do the Anthony Richardson thing?
Let's do it.
Absolutely. He's getting all this buzz now. Obviously, it adds some upside. 2 is kind of a boring QB2. Loves a drop back passer. It gives us some mobility upside to the quarterback room. And he's starting to get enough buzz that you're feeling like he's probably going to be there. So now we're doing a 3-5-7-3. I think, will you click on tight end? There's a couple tight ends that I don't know how often they get. Does Harold Fannin get drafted in every draft?
He does not get drafted in every draft.
We could maybe try to take him at the very end, or we could take a running back at the end. So what's running back look like right now?
Right now, Miles Sanders, Justice Hill, Marshawn Lloyd.
Let's go back to tight end. There will be a running back for us.
Yeah, who do you want?
Jatavian Sanders is another really good player, or Fannin, either of them. I would go Fannin if you can get him, but Sanders is fine. Oh no.
Miles Sanders, come on down. That's actually, that's fine for an auto pick. Oh my god.
Fuck. There goes Jatavian Sanders. Next pick.
Trying to type in Fannin, and I typed in, I think, GAN there. The fingers not nimble.
Sanders is a good pick too. I should have just left it at that instead of getting so excited about Fannin. But Fannin, again, the quotes in your Discord have been very helpful in my understanding of Fannin. I mean, they talked a lot about him, it being misunderstood that he's not a bad blocker, but also talked about him in ways that make you understand that he's not behind Njoku. They're visualizing a different role. They talked about as a movement style blocker. They talked about different things that give you this idea that they understand that this is a really prolific receiving tight end who led all of FBS in catches, was, integral in Bowling Green, only losing by a touchdown to both Penn State and Texas A&M. People talk about the level of competition. He played some really good teams. Penn State was in the college football playoff and only beat Bowling Green by 7 earlier in the year. And Harold Fannin had like 10 catches and 180 yards in that game. I mean, there's a whole offense for him. Like, you don't think Penn State was trying to stop him? Like, he's played against tough competition. Browns took him in the early 3rd round. Understand that he's a really dynamic player. I'm in on Njoku too. I mentioned him when we were in that range. I think they're both going to be a part of this passing game. Fannin might play a lot on in the slot. And I just, I'm pretty into his profile. I like guys that are productive in college, and I'm pretty into his profile as an upside play. There's a lot of running backs, like Corey Krosky-Merritt's really fun. I know Trevor Etienne doesn't go in a lot of these, so I felt like if we would have grabbed tight end first, that we would have been sure to get a running back on the way back. I'm sitting here talking up Fannin so much. If anyone's
someone's guaranteed to take her,
he's gonna go. If someone's watching, he may go. Hopefully,
with people talking about how bad they expect the Browns to be. Well, if they're playing catch up in a lot of games, then Harold Fannin probably going to be on the field a lot. We know how much they want to run 12 personnel. And if Njoku is the better blocker of the duo, maybe Fannin's getting a little bit more of the receiving stuff there. Led college in receiving yards last year. Like you said, just a super, super productive guy.
You click over and just sort by tight end. And
somebody took him. Eddie Lacy took him.
There he goes. Eddie Lacy.
Yeah.
Well, Terrence Ferguson's another upside play. Darren Waller is a reasonable. Oh, we have Tua. Let's grab Waller or throw. Yep. I mean, he would be my top option now, probably. I'm not like thrilled about that move or anything. We have a lot of old tight ends. We have Ertz, Waller. It's gross. I don't like it. We needed the young upside there that
break out the AARP cards, folks. All right, cool. Let's take a look at our team here. QB Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, Anthony Richardson at running back, Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving, Cam Skattebo, Dylan Sampson, Miles Sanders, wide receiver Tyreek Hill, Jamison Williams, Travis Hunter, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Keon Coleman, Luther Burden, tight end, Brenton Strange, Zach Ertz, Darren Waller. What you thinking about this team here, Ben?
I like the build. I don't necessarily love the way the tight ends finished up there with Strange, Ertz, and Waller. I do think Ertz is like a reasonable volume play. Had a lot more, I think, targets and volume than people realize. Is one of those really boring veterans that everyone's like, yeah, he's dust. But I mean, I've said he's dust for years, but one of the interesting things is he was actually a lot more efficient from a yards per target standpoint last year than he'd been in several years. He's been good in this Cliff Kingsbury offense before. Cliff Kingsbury seems to really like the way that he exists within the RPO scheme and his ability to kind of read linebackers and sit down in the zone and all of these things. And Daniels is very good at operating that. And so I don't think it takes Ertz a lot of like skill to be able to, at this age, to be able to fill the role that he needs to fill within an RPO offense. And I think, again, I think he's going to get that deference from Kingsbury. And I don't think Ben Sinnott, who I really like as a prospect, but they used in different ways and he's still young. I don't think he's really like a threat to take over the Ertz role necessarily. And then Daniels, I think, elevates the efficiency is what we saw with Ertz. So I actually think his profile is, for how like old he is and all those things, I think it's pretty underrated. When you're doing like a late round build, it's nice to have a little stability where I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's going to have 3-4 catches a game. He has the potential to really stack catches. Strange, I mentioned, or I mentioned a little earlier about some of the tight ends that just run a lot of routes, aren't great target earners. We had Hunter in that range. I think he's one of those types of players. He's not like a huge like threat to compete for secondary targets. But with the Hunter play, part of the contingent upside I was talking about was if Brian Thomas were to like, suffer an unfortunate injury, I think that would work favorably in Strange's direction as well. So I think the Strange Ertz part of it works a little bit. The Darren Waller thing, kind of a little bit of a panic thing with Fannin going off. That was the worry when we were trying to grab a tight end in 17, was that on the way back, we would have more options at running back. We might run out of some options at tight end. And so maybe Waller adds a little bit. Maybe he's able to find, he just seems like a complete black box after being retired last year, but maybe he's able to find a little bit of footing in the Miami offense. But those tight ends a little bit tricky. I like the way we did the quarterbacks, a couple drop back passers stacked up, and then we get Richardson's, uncertainty as a QB3. I think we were deep enough at running back and receiver to go 3 QBs and 3 tight ends with the 2 early horses at running back. And, the next 2 mid-round rookie running backs we took, I think, are really strong plays for like full season volume, really, between Scadaboo and Dylan Sampson. You talked about Scadaboo a lot. The Miles Sanders pick late, he could get work. He's not a terrible option. I just would have probably preferred a rookie, one of those upside options for the late season ceiling. And then the wide receiver room, I think, is straightforwardly really strong. We took so many high-end options. We got the double stack with both Reed and Golden. We got Keon Coleman as a year 2 guy, kind of an auto pick, but I don't hate it. He's going to have some splash weeks probably. Luther Burden at a little bit of a discount, and then had the earlier, first few picks, Tyreek Hill and the other ones that we took earlier. I can't remember exactly who we took, but the receivers, 7 receivers are really strong. So though, basically I really like the build, frankly, but I think it could have been even more dynamic if the tight end thing would have came together a little better, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. Got sniped by 1 pick on Tucker Kraft, which would have really, set things in motion for that Green Bay
right.
stack. Going back to the Zach Ertz stuff, Dan Quinn said last year when they acquired Ertz, they asked him why did you bring him in? And he said, well, for third down and for red zone. And we saw them use him so much in the red zone. And then after the season, Zach Ertz ended up playing so much last year. And Dan Quinn said that wasn't really the intention. They were really just bringing him in for third down and red zone. And they just couldn't take him off the field. They felt like he was a real glue part of that offense there. So would be cool to see that for another year. Got a couple questions here. In redraft, would you still pick Rashee Rice over Xavier Worthy just for Rice's upside in a PPR league, Ben?
Personally, I would not. I think there's plenty of upside with Worthy. I think the idea that there's not has been blown crazy out of proportion. My Stealing Bananas co-host, Sean Siegel, just wrote very long piece about the breaking down the Chiefs in a lot of different ways that I recommend going and reading over at RotoViz. But that's the relevant section there was about Worthy's age and the ways that the market is even some of the sharpest analysts I know seem to just not really be paying attention to the age related stuff and acting like that's not a story. The fact is he turned 22 in April. He was 21 all season. Some of the efficiency related stuff matters. Some of the stuff in the profile from college needs to be understood to have been age adjusted. Rashee Rice didn't have a really good college season until his final year. And I'm really in on Rashee Rice. I was really in on him last year, people know, and I do really like the talent. I think he's going to have a clear role within that KC offense. But what Rashee Rice did for his best season at SMU in his final year, he was older for that than Xavier Worthy was in his rookie season last year. What he did over his rookie year for the Chiefs, what he did in the few games last year, he's at a much more advanced age than Worthy ever was, which the main way to think about that is the potential for development. There's a lot of people that think that Xavier Worthy's ultimate ceiling is just like the next Mecole Hardman, and I just think that's not understanding. I suppose that's the floor, but I honestly think the ceiling is in the Tyreek Hill range in this offense. I think it's a wide range. We're still a young player, has not played a lot of games. He didn't have 5 catches in a game until week 12 or week 14 it was. And then he had 5+ in every game after that. And everyone's using the manufactured touches as a negative. To me, they late down the stretch and all through the postseason started making him a focal point and getting him the ball with intent over and over and over again. That's the stuff you want to see in a 21-year-old rookie at the end of the year to buy in the next year. So there's no knock on Rice when I say this. It's just that, like, I don't even know why that's a question. Rice is going to be suspended for potentially up to 6 games for the, if he gets the sort of the personal conduct stuff, and you should be in on Worthy. Like, you should want to draft Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so big that he was able to get those targets and be productive in, kind of the short intermediate area of the field. They used him as a runner as well, with, sweeps and handoffs and that sort of thing. And then you have the deep stuff that we know he's capable of. We just didn't see it a lot last year for a couple of reasons. One is, like, that connection just wasn't there. Mahomes was not accurate on deep balls last year. And yeah, you have some stuff where maybe Worthy should have adjusted a little bit better to, like, keep both feet in bounds, but it's not like these were perfect throws that Patrick Mahomes was making downfield to Xavier Worthy. A lot of them were just completely misplaced balls. And I think a big part of that could be the fact that they had no left tackle. They didn't have a lot of time last year to do the sort of deep passing that they talked about wanting to do last season, that now this offseason they're saying that was a real focal point for us and for Pat this offseason, was to unlock this deep passing game, to get back to this deep passing game. And now when you have a legitimate left tackle who will be hopefully a very good starter for them, and we're getting good reports on how he looks. Well, now you've got time. Now you don't always have to be worrying about getting blown up on the blind side there. So it's one of these situations again that, okay, we didn't see it come completely to fruition last season, right? We didn't see some like 1,400 yard season. We didn't see this like Tyreek Hill stuff transpire last year. So like we're having a tough time envisioning it this year, but the pieces are in place there. It's absolutely within the range of outcomes that Xavier Worthy has a really, really big season.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty straightforward, as you were talking about the deep stuff. If they would have just hit on a few more of those last year, I think people would have a very different opinion of Xavier Worthy. They wouldn't be calling him a manufacturer touch merchant, all this stuff. And it's impossible to, I mean, I watch every football game and have for like literally decades. It is impossible to like overstate that they should have hit on more of them last year. Worthy did his job in getting open deep. Mahomes has thrown those balls to players just as fast as Worthy and all of those things all throughout his career, and he's been able to be more efficient on those throws. There's no reason other than just basically variance that they didn't connect on those. And then we saw it in the Super Bowl, but everyone just wants to say that was against their backups and it doesn't matter and all those things. And my point is like, yeah, it was against their backups, but the play calls on defense were straight up, don't get beat over the top. When you're up by multiple touchdowns, you're just like, we're just running out the game. I mean, they weren't that concerned about it because the game was over, but literally they hit on some plays where they had two dudes like in tight coverage with Worthy. The point being just like it proves the point about the regular season that these near misses when Worthy got single coverage at times and was open are not the only way those things could have went. There was some other balls that Mahomes dropped in a bucket in the Super Bowl. We got to see that, and people are going, that doesn't matter. And also all the misses in the regular season do matter. And he can't get better at 22, and he's just too small, and he'll never actually work. And I'm just like, man, you better be right, because if he starts getting deep late every single time, you're going to hate that you don't have any of him.
Yeah, Matt Nagy the other day talking about the progression that Xavier Worthy has made, talking about how, there's like coming in as a rookie, there's the 101 stuff where like you're just trying to get lined up right, like you're not like seeing the defense, before the ball is snapped, and that's where Jalen Royals is right now. Worthy is 202. Like he's like before the ball is even being snapped, like he's seeing the defense, he's seeing what that presents, and he's just like he's playing so much faster because he doesn't have to think. And how Rashee Rice is kind of like level 303 for for them. One more question
sure.
here from Justin. Can Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown both hit at their current ADPs?
Yeah, I think so. They essentially did last year, and they weren't too far off. It's tricky if Jameson Williams really hits, who we just took in this draft, and obviously it's tricky if Laporta's in a key role all year, where like he was kind of the one that got phased out as a result of Jameson being more involved. Like you go back to Laporta's rookie year, Jameson was suspended most of the year, and then the vibes are just completely off in the late part of the year. And then he didn't play, his fullest snap share that year was like 72% in the final game of the year, the postseason loss to the Niners. And that was, what he had worked his way into after coming back from the suspension, which is, gets back to like our Quinshon Judkins conversation and some of those things. Mike Tomlin had a great quote last year. You can't board. It's hard to board a moving train. And I've been using that this offseason quite a bit, where these guys that are coming back mid-season, they can't become a focal point of the offense right away. The teams are practicing every week together. They're playing every week together. And so Williams didn't have that as 2 years ago. He had it last year. Laporta's the one who got hit the most. But late in the year, Laporta started to get some volume back. Basically, like cut his season in halves. You'll see that he had way more targets in the second half. I don't have the stat right off the top of my head. But if those things happen, if Jameson continues to hit and they more, distinctly get the ball to Laporta or more deliberately get the ball to Laporta from the beginning of the year, I think it does get tricky for both Gibbs and Amon-Ra. The big overall stat that I think favors Amon-Ra, I think Gibbs is like, you have to draft him. He's young Jamal Charles, as Evan Silva put it recently, but that's what it really is. I mean, he's so explosive, had so much efficiency in both the rushing and receiving. You have a really good offense. You have a great situation for him to be getting volume. David Montgomery's a good secondary back and will certainly be a part of that backfield still. But Gibbs's ceiling scenarios when Montgomery's off the field have been so high that, I just think you have to really understand that he could break fantasy football in a way that, like, not even Saquon did last year, because like Saquon didn't quite have the receiving scoring. He could, like, because Saquon was like the RB1 last year, but Gibbs could score in a way that gaps all the other RBs, which is like what McCaffrey did in those peak seasons. In those years where you're like, this guy is he's scoring 25, PPR points per game. We're obviously doing a half PPR show, but Saquon was more like around 20. It's a little different in half, but it's still a gap when you get into the range of scoring that Gibbs has shown the ability to do without Montgomery. And I think you want to have exposure to that kind of profile, but he can do that. Amon-Ra is the one where it gets tricky, but the key stat was that, when Jameson broke out last year and had a meaningful role, Amon-Ra's targets per out, his usage dropped a little bit, but not a ton. He was still at 25% targets per out. He had been in like the 27, 28% range the last 2 years. And so Laporta's dropped more meaningfully. I think he was like a 21, dropped all the way down to like 17. And so the fact that Amon-Ra mostly kept that volume, I think, speaks to what he is to that team. He's a legit superstar slot player. He's very, very, very good. And so those other guys emerging, Jameson and Laporta, I think of it more as they're emerging behind Amon-Ra rather than stealing from Amon-Ra. But it does get tricky. It does get tricky. It's not easy. This is an offense that's going to run a ton of plays. Their quarterback's not going to scramble. He's not going to take sacks. They're going to get the ball out. There's going to be a lot of skill position volume, right? They're going to be in shootouts. Their defense isn't necessarily elite. So there's a lot of reasons to expect that the Lions guys can all sort of, and then they're concentrated to these guys that we're talking about. They can all sort of get there in a way that is a lot harder in an offense with a mobile QB, or that is a little bit like slower paced or more run focused, like we're talking about with the Jets. I'm not that concerned about the Lions guys, but yeah, it's certainly a thing to think about as it relates to like Amon-Ra's ADP.
Yeah, definitely thinking a lot about Amon-Ra because, like you said, really, really, really great player. But Ben Johnson offenses feature the slot player and the slot receiver. And now when he's gone, and their new offensive coordinator John Morton and their head coach Dan Campbell are saying that we're going to focus a little bit more on Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams, and then to some extent Sam Laporta, but mainly, JMO and Gibbs, because these guys are just so unbelievably fast. And when we can isolate them and get the ball in their hands, we get really explosive plays as a result. And we saw a breakout from JMO last year, and they're talking about, there's still room for him to grow, and he's still growing, and he looks unbelievable right now. Both of them just keep using the word unbelievable. So very, very much in on Jameson Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not like completely fading Amon-Ra St. Brown because, again, I think he's just such an excellent receiver. But I'm not loading up on him by any means.
Right. There's a lot of really good players in the ranges where he goes that I think of as bigger targets.
Yeah.
I'm not fading Amon-Ra. So that's just, it's tough.
Yeah. So many guys in that area that are available. A lot of times it'll be like Nico Collins is available, Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, a lot of real
want exposure to all those guys for sure.
Yeah.
So it's tough. You can't get everyone, right?
That's right. Before I let you go, Ben, I'd love to hear what your 4 favorite films are.
4 favorite films. All right. Well, growing up, it was Tommy Boy and Happy Gilmore. Just saw Happy Gilmore 2. I know there's a big debate around it. They tried to play the hits, but it was bad. It's not a good movie.
Yeah.
But Happy Gilmore 1 was a favorite. Tommy Boy was a favorite. I was a big comedy guy growing up. I always would I haven't thought about my favorite movie in a long time, but I would always say Shawshank Redemption as well, as far as dramas when I was younger, because that was an incredible movie. But there's got to be some stuff more recent that I would also point to. There's a lot of I don't necessarily think the movie industry is in a great place, but there's a lot of good movies I think that still get made. I don't necessarily buy that it's like the end of the world. But, the other one I'm going to say to round this out is A Few Good Men. I always freaking love that movie. Every time that movie's on, I love that movie. Tom Cruise makes some good movies. Edge of Tomorrow is like my dark horse. Like, it's not in my top 4, but that's a good-ass movie, too. Anytime that's on, I'm watching that.
It's so fun. I watched that multiple times in theaters. I was not expecting to have such a blast watching that film. It's
great.
It was a very fun film.
Yeah, A Few Good Men, man. That like the final courthouse showdown scene. You Can't Handle the Truth. The Jack Nicholson scene.
Yeah,
that comes to mind, dude. That every time gets me, man. The whole like plot of that. It's obviously a little bit. There's a lot of like ambiguity in the whole story and all these things and all the different roles. All the characters are so well developed, and the guys at the end, and they don't understand why they're still in trouble and all of these things. That's just an incredible movie.
You want me on that wall.
That's right.
Me on that wall.
It's amazing. That speech, that whole thing is incredible.
Yeah. Got a vote here in the chat for Fargo, which is incredible.
Good one.
Incredible Coen Brothers film, and the TV show. I don't know if you guys watched that, but
yes,
that was a great TV show as well, especially the first couple seasons there.
I watched all of the first 4, and I heard 5 was really, really good, and it's making me remember right now I need to get back to Fargo season 5 with John Hamm. I never saw that. I saw the first 4 though, and I loved them. Even I saw a lot of that commentary that the seasons 3 and 4 weren't as good as seasons 1 and 2, and they're not, because seasons 1 and 2 are incredible, but I still liked seasons 3 and 4. That's a good show.
Yeah. Which one was the Ewan McGregor where he plays twin brothers? Was that, I can't remember if there was 3 or 4. I know there was one with like Gene Smart and Bokeem Woodbine, I think is his name. I can't remember what.
I don't know.
That one.
Right now I'm thinking of the one with Chris Rock that I think was 4, and people didn't necessarily love it, but I thought that was a pretty cool one. It was a little bit further timeline back. It was like the 1950s or something. Chris Rock was.
Yeah, I think that was season 4. I believe you're right. I did enjoy the John Hamm season.
I haven't seen that, but people talked favorably about it. I got to go back to that.
Yeah, he's a real bastard in that one. But I still remember watching. I remember them saying that the show was going to come out, and everyone was like, "Ooh, is it? I hope they don't ruin anything." And it's just like kind of in the theme of the film, right? Like, doesn't really have anything to do with it. But that first season with Billy Bob Thornton and Martin Freeman, man. That was fun.
So
stuff.
good.
Fun TV.
And then the ways that, like, yeah, it's the theme, but there's the little tie-ins. They do the little nods. Everyone loves a callback. You know, a little nod to something else that's in the Fargo universe is always kind of cool.
Yes, sir. Ben, thank you so much, guys. Thank you all for hanging out on Friday. We got 2 more drafts. Got one with Derek Carty at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then John Daigle at 3 p.m. Eastern. I would beseech everyone who has not listened to the Establish the Edge podcasts, the divisional previews, to go check those out. Like I mentioned earlier, really, really incredible work done there by Ben and Michael Leone. Ben, let us know what you got going on, where we can find you.
Yeah, my newsletter is at bengretch.substack.com. Just released the redraft rankings tiers this morning. So those are fresh and out for subscribers. It is a premium newsletter, but a lot of people out there sub to it, and you should join them. Podcast Stealing Bananas with Sean Siegel throughout the full calendar year. Obviously, shout out to the Ship Chasing guys, was with them for a lot of years and decided this year to kind of cut back a little bit on the content, but they do incredible work. And I'll be doing some draft streams with them in August as well.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. All right, guys. See y'all on Friday. Peace.